Very Long Way is the first book of Utopia. So I'm going to kind of give it to you. It's totally told story-wise, but it really is very like this if you go back to the original. It's done in several voices, but you'll pick it up as we go along. Did I ever tell you about my old friend Raphael and his many tales? No? Did I ever tell you more about the time I was in the Southern Ocean and a great big fish flew out on wings? Yes, and you caught it and you fried it and ate it with a local root vegetable and called it Bubble and Squeak. I believe you might have mentioned it and it won't catch on. But it is a wonder to me, Raphael, that you don't become the counsellor of some king. I'm sure you'd be worthy of your wisdom. I'll treat you as their fool. No good at all. I was once in England. What? When you told me? Oh, I never went back. Of course, it always rains there. Who'd want to go there? But anyway, I was in the court of a great man, the Duke de la Pole, the Bishop de la Pole. Oh, an excellent fellow. The Bishop of Lincoln. Yes, him. And a lawyer chap came in and he said, "It is a wonder they're already left." And I asked, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, we've just hung 100 thieves. Where do they get all these thieves from?" Well, I pipe up. What's always seems to be about right. Hang on, I say. Hang on. Isn't the entire point of British society to manufacture thieves and knaves? What do you mean, sir? Now that was the good bishop saying that. So I said, well, Eve, think about the way you glorify warriors and how that creates thieves. What do you mean, I say? Well, even ignoring the way you treat your soldiers, the way you dump them on the streets, the way you don't look after their orphans. We are doing something about that. Yeah, you've been doing something about that for the last 500 years. But even ignoring that, what happens from all these warriors? Don't you need to create a cult where you reward the few, the great, the celebrities, and all the rest, torn from wealth, can only look on in envy? What are they going to become then, but thieves and scoundrels? Well, I think it is well we hang them. No! Hanging is no good. You hang a mother. What happens to her children? Won't they become thieves as well? Well, what would you have us do with them if hanging isn't good enough? Well, I don't know. Probably the best place I ever saw was down in Persia. A land called Nowhere in Particular. Do you know what they did with thieves? They realised most thieves are only what they are because they've never been educated. So they take them out and they educate them. And then they send them out to do good work in the world. You know, it was so popular as a policy. In the end, they ran out of thieves. It worked that well. They had to import them. Well, sir, well, this is wellness indeed. I am the Bishop of Lincoln, a Chancellor. I have the ear of the King. We will adopt this policy in Britain. What is good enough for Nowhere in Particular is good enough for here. No! It won't work in Britain. There's no point importing it. You'll go nowhere. What do you mean, sir? Well, you see, there's an animal at loose in the fields of Britain, laying waste to villages, destroying livelihoods. And as long as that animal is at loose, you can't have peace and happiness, not here. Do you want me to name that animal? Oh, yes, surely I do. I might be old and I might not have fought since Bosworth, but I will bring my armour. We will lead a crusade. We will wipe out that creature if it is as bad as you say it is. Oh, it's much worse than that. And I don't think all your swords will do any good against it. But perhaps, Bishop, you peculiarly might fight it. Do you want me to name it for you? The creature that is destroying Britain. Bear! It is sheep. What do you mean, sir? I own more sheep than anyone in England. I know. That's my point. And think what must happen for your sheep may safely graze. Think of all the farms you've destroyed, and all the livelihoods. And where are those farmers now? And where are their children? Well, I imagine they went off to town and reskilled. No, it takes a lifetime to learn a trade. What has happened to them? But they've become thieves. And aren't you as surely a manufacturer as the thieves' guilt, as they them are themselves. At which point they threw me out. You can imagine me, couldn't you, at the court of some king, say the King of France, and the high manner of foreign policy comes up, and the Duke of Nivier says, "Let us invade Portugal, I want to go surfing." And the Duke of Normandy says, no, I want to go mountaineering, we shall invade Switzerland. And the paradoxical Duke of Paris says, "No, let us invade Norway, I like the mountains and the skiing." And I pipe up and say, "No, sire, you can't go invading, annexing other people's lands just because you want them. France is quite big enough for you. In fact, it's too big. Why don't you give away half of it?" Probably one of the best places I ever saw, Appleland. Do you know, they had it as a policy that the king was not allowed to earn more than a certain amount of land. And if ever they did, they forced him to give it back. Or you can imagine if the high matter of currency came up. And again, the Duke of Nivier stood up and said, "Let us have a new tax. Let us tax eating, for that is fair." And the fat old Duke of Brittany said, No, that is an unfair tax. In fact, taxes us, fat, rich people, more than those thinifers over there, the paupers. We better tax breathing. We all breathe. And then the Duke of Paris stood up and said, "No, I have a much better idea. Let's just make poverty illegal and fine the poor." And I pipe up and say, "You can't do that, sire! Your people's money is not yours to spend." In Appleland, they only allowed the king 100 gold ducats. It was his job, you see, to keep the money moving round. And if ever he got greedy, they killed him. Do you think I'd survive if I suggested that? Of course not. But you're never going to have happiness anyway more. I don't expect you to believe me. Because you're not going to have happiness. Not on this side of the world. Not as long as you've got private property. What do you mean, sir? I've heard you say this before, Raphael. It is clear nonsense. A man has a right to a house and a toothbrush. Yeah, sure he has. But why do you own all of Norfolk and half of Lincolnshire? What possible good do you do there? Well, I use the lands and the rents I raise to found colleges, build cathedrals, do good works. Yeah, but think of all the misery you create. All the people you treat as chattel, just so your scholars can have your dinners and your monasteries can have their glass. More than that, Lord. Think of all the laws that have to exist just so that you can earn so much when others earn so little. And think of all the warriors you have to employ to enforce those laws. And all the misery it creates. No more. No. You can't have happiness. Not on this side of the world. Not as long as you've got private property. But I said, I don't expect you to believe me, because you have never been to Utopia. Come with me more. Come to